guys, Ben Paynes here, and today we are back once again for another video at Teamsport Cardiff. And in this video we do have an Elite HEATSEEKER event. This is an event with 3 random grid starts followed by a final, and here you can see I'm really warming up quite erratically, and this is what happened in the heats. As you saw there, due to the nature of the heat, some of them my fault, some not my fault, we did end up starting in 14th position out of 16, so we're a little bit of the way down the order. However, I would like to say before we jump properly into the video, if you are new here, could you please hit the subscribe button, and also could you like the video if you do enjoy it, as it really does help me out and I really do appreciate it. I really do try my best to make as entertaining videos as I possibly can. As I am rambling here, the race has got underway, and straight away we're looking for a move down the inside up into 13th position. Obviously we were starting in 14th after that poor heat performance, and here we're able to go right in and slot into 13th behind kart number 3. So here already managed to gain a position on the first lap, which I was really happy with, and I was hopefully looking to sort of improve on the times I had in the heats, as I was really seeming to be off the pace this week. I didn't actually manage to be as quick as some of the other drivers, so some of my faster laps in this session were pushing into the 36 second a lap region, which is not really quick enough for where I want to be. Obviously, being at the track, I have managed to get down to 34.5, 35 second mark. So this is sort of where I wanted to aim for. Obviously, the BIKC is coming up, and I wanted to try and maintain my pace going into that championship, just so that I could understand that I am fast enough for the heavyweight category. And here on the first proper lap without having a slow start, we have a 36.493. So much like I mentioned, the times were quite slow at this point, and I really wanted to try and get close to the drivers ahead, not let them pull away, and able to actually overtake and sort of push on throughout the session. Here you can see how close we're actually managing to close up to the driver in number 3. They're having a little bit of a complaint there. I don't know if they had a little bit of contact with the driver ahead. I didn't really manage to see, but I was just trying to stay as smooth as possible and try and make sure that I wasn't sliding as much around the corners, just so I could maintain as much speed as I could there. Once more, the laps already coming down to 35.994, so at this point in the session already, after just 3 laps, I had actually got my fastest lap of the evening, which I was really happy with, and I was hoping that with the smoothness and the speed that I was carrying, if I could just carry it through. Here I looked for the inside, thought better of it. I didn't really want to lunge down the inside. As you saw at the beginning of the video, some of the issues that I was having, my confidence was a little bit down after that. Every single heat there seemed to be an issue, there seemed to be an accident, and therefore I just wanted to make sure I could keep my nose clean, keep putting in some consistent lap times. You can see there once again a 35.834, so the times are starting to tumble down, and I really wanted to try and make sure that I could just push up throughout the session rather than maintain myself at the back, which is sort of what had been going on throughout the rest of the evening. Here I look for the inside, try to make the driver feint for the inside, but instead he doesn't really notice me, so I think he sticks the outside. So my plan didn't really work as well as I wanted it to, taking a little bit of a wider line there compared to him, and it's managed to let me really close up onto the back of his bumper here on his kart, coming across the line 35.714. I look for the inside there, and I really hit the brakes to try and make sure that I don't make contact with the driver ahead, and you can see how much time that actually lost me there. I actually hit the brake a little bit too much rather than making contact with the driver ahead and sort of jeopardising him. I sort of end up jeopardising myself. You can see there the run coming out of the top corner into the hairpins. That really did jeopardise me, as I mentioned, and this meant that the driver ahead was then able to push past me and take a position. So I was back into 14th where I started, and it was sort of like starting from the beginning now. At this point I was trying to build the building blocks back together and really try and focus and maintain my pace that I'd had at the beginning. Obviously you can see the lap times coming back down again to a 37.914, so really not very quick compared to 37.714 there. Losing concentration, shaking my head as I hit the wall there a bit, so I think once more my confidence began to slip at this point. I I felt that I was going to sort of languish in this 14th position, not be able to make any inroads into the rest of the session, much like I had for the 3 heats, which I was really disappointed with, as I knew I had some good results in me. But at this point, it's much like the rest of life, you can choose to give up here, or I decided to really push on and try my best. And here I really wanted to try and fight my way up behind the driver ahead of me and try and close the gap. You can see they have managed to forge a bit of a gap against me, and this is because I wasn't really concentrating as much as I should. You can see they're hitting the wall again, just really making some silly mistakes, again hitting the wall, really getting a bit agitated in the seat, you can see, and I really wanted to try and focus, knuckle down, and really try and catch up to the person ahead of me. Much like always, I was really able to keep my foot in around the big right-hander there at the bottom section, and this allowed me to maintain as much grip as I possibly could. There you go, straight away with the lap time coming back down to a 35.866, so all these laps were faster than any of the laps I'd had in the heats that were before this, and therefore I really wanted to try and push on and really try and catch up. Obviously there's 2 or 3 drivers ahead of me that I really felt I had the pace on, and I didn't feel that 14th was a true reflection on my ability here at this point in the race. So here once again going a little bit narrow that time, having to lift off a little bit and really making sure that I hit the brakes just at the corner point of that corner, just to make sure that I could really get the turn in properly here. 35.663, so lap time's coming down even more. You can see there's a huge gaggle of cars that just sort of appeared on the track. The driver there on the left sort of getting squeezed out by the driver ahead. I also begin to get punted by him then, so I don't know if that's out of agitation from the person ahead that sort of squeezed him into the wall, but I sort of decided to ignore that because obviously that had affected me previously in the heats and it sort of ruined my race. So I was trying to make sure it didn't happen again, and I was able to get past him back up into 13th place, so there was another place gained, and I really wanted to gain some more. As you can see, there's quite a few drivers ahead, really in a small proximity of one another, so there's a 36.555 there, and that was obviously due to the consequent accident that happened at the top of the hill. But here we're really behind car number 3 again. Obviously we tried to make a move on them earlier in the session, it didn't quite pull off the way that I hoped, so I was hoping that second time would be the lucky time. I'm really trying to close up behind him here, really urging the car forward here, trying to push it forward in my seat. You can see how wide they're going there, losing a lot of time by clipping the ball and by really getting as close to the apex as I possibly could, and having good throttle control. I was able to really ensure the car wasn't sliding here. I really closed up to the driver in car number 3. Obviously my weight here not really helping, as you can see there, pulling away, even though I got an excellent exit out of the corner there. He goes a little bit wide, and it did really allow me to just sort of swoop down the inside there. I gave him a little bit of room on the outside, but obviously not enough for him to follow back through. So there we're up into 12th position now at this point, so I had gained 2 places, which I was really happy with. I was hoping that we could catch up to the 2 drivers ahead and try and make a move on them as well if I could. You can see they are battling one another, and we do come across the line with 35.521, so even with an overtake I was able to have a pretty fast lap. And here I think I was able to maximise my exit out of the bottom hairpin a lot more. I was trying to go a little bit wider to begin with and a little bit slower into the corner to get a better exit up the ramp, but instead I resorted back to my tactic of really swinging the car in and not really braking as much and sort of sacrificing my line out of the corner as opposed to going in, and it really seemed to bring my lap times down, so I just continued to use it throughout the rest of the race. It really did help to see the lap times just kept tumbling down and down at 35.284, so getting really quick now. I'm really managing to catch up to the cars ahead of me, and this is something that really filled me with a lot of confidence compared to earlier in the session where I was getting hit all over the place and really losing a lot of time. So here, by keeping it clean, keeping it consistent, I was able to just really close up to the drivers ahead, and hopefully in the next few laps I was hoping to make a little bit of an overtake opportunity as well. Here once again really sticking to the middle of the track to try and keep my foot as planted as possible through the right hand corner, really sticking as close as I could to the apexes too, and we come across the line now at 35.226, so close lap to the lap that was previously the fastest, but once again we're able to get the times down, and this is something that I was really required to do in order to keep up to the guys ahead. You can see they are squabbling with each other bit by bit, and we really have closed up to the driver in number 16, and here I lost a little bit of time coming out of that corner, but really able to catch up once again. As I said, they were all fighting. This really allowed me to just sort of catch up. They're all slowing each other down by using different braking points, and this really meant that I was able to tag along to the back of the train here, getting a little bit scruffy on the exit of the complex section at the bottom of the track. And here you can see number 16 looking for a way past the driver ahead in the white helmet, but not really having an opportunity to do so, and this really allowed me to really close up. You can see the lines there really sweeping around to the outside. I was trying to go for a little bit of a switcheroo here. I was able to sort of send it down the inside. It was a little bit of a clumsy move there. I did actually force the driver a little bit wide, and I probably should have let them back through, in all honesty. I did sort of bundle them out the way a little bit, but I thought in my head that if I was going to get a penalty, then it was so be it. But I think unfortunately, or luckily for me, unfortunately for the driver behind, I didn't get any warnings for contact, so I assumed it was an alright enough move, so I carried on regardless. I was going to slow down and let them back through, but I thought I really wanted to catch up to the drivers ahead and try and get to the front of this pack by the end of the session. So here I was trying to stay as tidy as possible. You can see myself checking back there to see if the driver behind me was following me through, and I think at this point they were, and I wouldn't be surprised if they were coming at me with a bit of vengeance after that overtake. You see I've come across the line there, 35.055, so these are some of the times that I'm more used to getting as a heavyweight driver, and these were times that I was really happy with compared to the times that I was getting at the beginning of the session, which were about a second slower even in the second or third heat. You can see here back marker going really wide, and luckily able to keep the door open there on the bottom hairpin, allowing me to push my way back through. And for the last few laps here, I was really trying to catch up to the two drivers ahead. You can see they're squabbling once more, going side by side through the complex sections. Really allowed me to close up once again, going side by side. The driver in the white really thinks better of going for a dive down the inside on the hairpin, and at this point I was tagging it along behind them, and I was thinking, where could I sort of make a move, make a lunge, and I was really stuck behind them for a little bit of time here. So you can see the driver there going a little bit wide. I thought about a lunge to the inside, but they seem to be driving quite erratically, going all over the place from left to right, so I didn't really want to send it down the inside and end up getting in contact. This is one of the drivers that had loaded me a few times in the heats, and I didn't want a repeat of that in the final as well, especially as I'd already started from quite far back. I didn't want a repeat just to be sent to the back of the grid. So here I was up behind cart number 18, and also a driver ahead of them who was sort of weaving all over the place, if I'm honest, and here I was really finding it quite difficult to understand where I could go for a move for myself, because both drivers seemed to be weaving from left to right, really darting about, and it was really difficult to sort of guess where they were going to go next. So I was stuck behind them for a little bit. I eased off a little bit and allowed them just to squabble a little bit more. I was hoping that one of them would hit the other, or that there would be a little bit too much of a squabble for them to actually slow each other down enough. You can see once again both of them taking peculiar lines through the bottom hairpin. This allows me to really close up behind the cart number 18 here. Here I was trying to get a good exit out of the corner, but unfortunately I actually clipped the back of him, and that actually slowed me down and gave him a little bit of propulsion going into the two hairpins at the top of the track. Here once again really trying to get a good exit out of the bottom hairpin. You can see he knows the pressure he's under as I'm really forcing myself up behind him, and I really wanted to try and make a move at this point, but as I said, I was finding it a little bit difficult there, a little bit scruffy hitting the side wall there, and it really meant that I was a little bit slow coming out of the complex section there, really getting the bottom hairpin right there, really swinging the car in and not losing a lot of momentum going up the ramp, which is obviously key for someone that is my weight. Really finding it difficult to get up the ramp, usually trying to get as close as possible to the apex as I possibly could. Here once again getting really close to the apex there on the bottom hairpin and trying to close in as much as I could to the two drivers ahead. There seemed to have forged a little bit of a gap at this point, and they weren't really fighting each other as much as I wanted them to, which meant that my plan was sort of failing. But we do come across the line now, the 35.035, which was in fact my fastest lap of the evening, and I believe it was the 5th or 6th fastest lap overall out of all of the drivers, which I was really happy with, because up until that point I was probably about 13th or 15th fastest, 13th to 15th, so I was really languishing behind, obviously with all the accidents that have been going on. I really felt that my confidence was quite low, and this was also reflected in my lap times, but in the final I was really able to knuckle down, and I was really able to close up to the two drivers ahead. You can see once again they are fighting quite a lot, and I believe at this point we were coming to the final lap of the race, so it was now or never really to try and make a move on the two drivers. You can see how much time I lost coming up the ramp, really trying to close in as much as I could through the top section, but unfortunately I'm shaking my head there as I do hit the side wall, and that meant I lost a little bit of time. So coming down at this point, I really did realise that I was a little bit too far away to make a move unless the two drivers sort of collected each other going into the last couple of corners. And here we come around the complex section here, but unfortunately we did have to remain in 11th place as the checker flag drops. As always, that is the end of the video, so I hope you have enjoyed. If you have, could you please hit the like button and subscribe for more in the future. If you haven't already seen, my Instagram is linked below, and that has a race report on the first outdoor session that I ever did. So if you could see that, I really would appreciate it. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Take care.